Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. We have two of John's students joining us today, Marisa and Jamie. Welcome.
Digital Dilemmas is a Lenk Media original podcast. Well, I thought it would be a great idea for our listeners to get a perspective from college students, the future generation of leaders, and have their voice heard on our show. And I hope to do this every couple months. I think it'd be a really great idea for people to hear from this generation. Give them a voice. So welcome, Jamie and Marisa. What did you say?
We're important.
What's
You are
that?
important.
Do you know what
important.
I feel like? I feel like that meme, John's not going to know what I'm talking about, but the Steve Buscemi meme from Saturday Night Live where he's like, hello, fellow young people. He's got like
We are
skateboard
the
over
young
his
people.
shoulder.
We are
He's
the
trying to
young
be like
people.
very hip. That's us today.
We're gonna pull up the Gen Z slang.
Exactly.
Believe me, if you think I'm quirky and old, I won't go there because my friends listen to the show, so I won't say anything further.
I've never thought of you as quirky and old, but now the idea is in my head.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign. All right, so we're going to do a quick lightning round. I think this will get us off to a good start to give our audience an idea of. All right, ladies, you each have to answer this question. Marisa, you go first. Jamie second. We'll just do it that way. Cable. Do you watch cable ever now?
I used to, but now we only have streaming services because I don't have the money to pay for cable, and we would use it anyway.
Right. Jamie, cable, yes or no?
That's gonna be a no. I didn't really watch much cable at all.
All right, next question. Marisa, you kind of answered it already. Streaming. Is that how you get your entertainment? Stream?
Yeah, and primarily Hulu because they have a student deal and it's super cheap and really nice.
Gotcha. Jamie.
Also streaming, I mainly have stuff through my family, but honestly, like you can find a lot of stuff online, whether it's pirating, stuff like that. So I find stuff for free.
Okay, cool. All right, next question. Marisa, where do you get your news from?
Probably Instagram and TikTok primarily.
Instagram and TikTok, it's where you get your news from. Okay, Jamie?
Yeah.
I do New York Times, and I also have a email newsletter called Morning Brew, and that one gives me like a little like tidbit of like a summary for every single day.
Gotcha. All right, next. What social media platforms are you on regularly, Marisa?
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. I think that's it.
Okay, Jamie?
Mainly like Instagram, YouTube. I've been on LinkedIn a bit more, but I'm honestly trying to like cut off a bit more of social media, so I have a lot less than usual.
All right, one more question, then we'll jump into the conversation. Last question. How often, how long are you on your phones every day?
Oh no.
Oh gosh.
Who knows that? Who knows the answer to that?
No, they make us ask every single class.
Let me check my
Only when you're in
screen
class.
time.
That's a good answer.
My screen time says 6 hours and 32 minutes, but that's probably skewed because I think it takes data from my laptop too.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I'm on that all day.
Okay,
Jamie, do you have any idea?
I'm at about like 8 hours, honestly. I'm
Yeah, I
probably
was
like a
going
bit
to say
more.
6 sounds low.
6 is very low. I'm at like between 8 and 12, depending on the day.
That's because
And
you're
you
so busy.
should talk.
Yeah, I know.
You're on your phone. You are
I'm
the
not
worst.
that much different. I know. I get it.
We
I'm
have
not getting on their case.
no. I'm just saying we have two teenagers, and often you will not get on their case, but you will make, cranky old man comments about the amount of time that they spent on their phones. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well, you can't put a show
not
on,
just
a
as
ball
kids.
game, a movie without them looking at their screen. It's like, can we do one thing at
You
once?
are exactly the same. You do the same thing. You double screen all the time.
I do it in a very discretionary manner.
No. Oh.
Marisa, I think they're fighting.
I'll admit, wait, let me settle this. I'll admit I do watch a show, or like my boyfriend will watch a show, and I will watch TikTok on my phone. but I
That's
don't watch it at full blast. Like I keep the volume down so that he can hear his
that's it.
show.
That's what drives me nuts when we're watching something, a movie, a show, or a ball game, and I hear their TikTok
You are
video
such a
playing.
liar. These are lies. He is telling you lies. That is not what bothers him because they'll totally they first of all they don't listen to it loud and they'll totally turn it down. It's that they're doing it. I think that like you just you get like you want them to focus on I do it too. I feel the same way. I don't like double screening. I especially when it's like movie night, and we're all trying to like watch the same movie. I'm like, can we all watch the same movie?
I know.
And then when you ask, and then because they're teenagers, I'll be like, what are you watching? And they're like, TikTok. I'm like, no, yeah, I meant like what on
on TikTok?
Like,
I know.
what specifically are you
I
watching?
did that literally an hour ago.
Oh my
My
God.
boyfriend asked me, "What are you watching?" I said, "TikTok."
It's like when John's
This
like,
is
what are
like
you
no
reading?
one
A
video.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That leads into our first lengthy discussion. Perfect segue, ladies. All right. I want to have a conversation regarding the TikTok sale discussion that the House of Representatives passed last week. I know we talked a little bit about it in some classes, but I want to have a discussion with you two and Ann Burr. I want to get your thoughts regarding the legislation, which stated, if passed as currently stated, that ByteDance, which is the owner of TikTok, must divest itself and sell TikTok to another owner, probably a Western individual or group. Or if they are unable to do that, within 6 months, TikTok will be banned in the United States. I want to get your thoughts and feelings on that.
Do you care at all?
I'm gonna go out there and say that I do care.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's very shocking. I think there's good rationale for like the ban in terms of like care about safety and everything, in terms of data privacy, but it's a huge, like such an excessive, like you're going to a ban. This is an entire jump. Like we've used
Oh,
TikTok
I
for our
see.
entire
You
lives.
care the other way. I meant, do you care, like, do you think it's a good thing? But you
Oh,
think it's a bad thing.
I think
Yeah,
it's like definitely in between. I see both sides. I think for me personally, because I've considered a huge like career in like marketing and also for entrepreneurship in the future. For me, it's personally a bad thing because compared to other algorithms like on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, it's so hard to start up anything. Whereas like TikTok, it's not uncommon to like talk to your friend and they're like, I got a couple thousand views on my video. And you're like, what? And they're like, yeah, no, I went viral. And I'm like, okay. You can't do that on other
You can get traction
platforms.
much more easily on TikTok very quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that lends really well to people wanting to start a brand or like a business, small business, because they're able to get big so quickly. Whereas on other platforms, you have to really strategize and like be
And
on
pay
your game.
money, frankly.
Yeah,
I mean,
even that too.
a lot
And
of it is pay to play on the other platforms.
on the other hand, I also, from like a consumer standpoint, I really like TikTok. Like
Does
it's a good place for me to just go mind numb, I guess. But at the same time, it can be educational. You can see some stuff that you never get to see. And it I just think it's one of the better social media platforms.
Yeah, on that topic, like TikTok is one of the platforms where like I'll go on TikTok and I'll see something happen or I'll see a trend that seems fun and I'll go, "Oh, I'm gonna try that." And then I'll learn something new or I'll experience like a new exercise or I'll get into like a new like interest or hobby. I don't really get that from Instagram and Facebook. That's more of like a connection of like person to person, especially also for minorities. We were talking about in our class about like the LGBTQ community. If you're like in the Midwest and you don't have people around you, or like you have people around you who are very against the group, if you don't have communities like TikTok, where our generation for Gen Zs come to really group up together and communicate with each other and speak up and like pretty much reach out, then we don't have a safe community for those people anymore where they can find these people.
so do you have anything to say, John?
No, go
Or
ahead,
can
jump
I
in.
go? I have so many thoughts. So because I'm old, the blogging community, when it first started, I want to say like, I don't even know, early 2000s, was very different than it is today. It was much more like TikTok. You knew everybody who sort of had blogs in areas of interest. It was much easier um to sort of find your communities and to learn things, and everybody kind of knew each other because it was much smaller. And like me, I have a lot of mental health issues, and it was a way for me to like talk to other people about, who had similar issues, or, also interior design, not just mental health. But sort of to your LGBTQ point, it provided me with a lot of different communities that I would never have been able to find otherwise. Um, and I do love that TikTok does that, and I like it that it does it for my kids. Like I think my kids are exposed to stuff that they would never necessarily that they wouldn't see otherwise. Does it bother you? The thing about the TikTok China thing that bothers me is um the idea of, there's a quote from this guy I really like. He's one of the sort of early, I don't know, early thought leaders around the internet and social media. His name is Doug Rushkoff, and he said, and this was years and years ago, but he said, these platforms, do you think they're free? They're not free. You're paying with your data. Does it bother you, the idea of a country, because China is a communist country, so whoever owns TikTok is the Chinese government owns TikTok, and isn't necessarily, like politically, does it raise any concerns for you?
I'm kind of conflicted on that because I'm not really sure what I actually think. Because on one hand, you don't really want another country having your data, but on the other hand, it's kind of like, well, who am I? I'm not doing anything important. I'm just Joe Schmo, and like I don't have anything important that they're gonna take from me, but I also don't know what data they have, what they're doing with it, why they want it. So those are kind of the questions that raise a little bit of concern for me, but I'm I'm not anybody important.
I
Yeah, I
think
don't
we're
mean so
also,
much. Oh, sorry, go on.
no, don't worry at all. I think we're also just like so used to like knowing that our information is being taken from us. We've been on like every single website where they tell you like, oh, you have to use cookies here, and then we'll use cookies, then we know their information is getting taken. We've assigned so many like waivers, we do all these things on every single different like platform to use different social media that like frankly the United States we have such a small, like we have no data restrictions or privacy like rules at all. Like we have so little, and now suddenly it's a huge deal for TikTok. So it's a good thing to be concerned about for data privacy. But now we're just making this huge jump. And we're like, why do we care so much now when it's been an issue for every single platform that we have besides that with Instagram and Twitter and Facebook?
Oh, I can
I
clear that up for you.
I
They
also thought
only,
of this.
sorry,
Oh,
go on.
sorry. Sorry. I also thought of this the other night while I was playing a game on my phone. But what about the game apps that we use? Like, what kind of data are they collecting, and how is that
All
any
of it.
different from social media? So
It's not.
why are we concerned about the social media but not necessarily about the games?
I think that people feel that the data that can be collected from games is more limited, and the information or misinformation or disinformation that can be fed through games is more limited than it is on a social media platform like TikTok. And the only reason that America cares now is because one of the enemies of the state, like one of the bad guys owns one of the companies. Otherwise, they would not care. And I think I said this on our first podcast. I don't even remember who the guest was, but we were talking about
Andrew.
was it Andrew when we were talking
Yeah.
about social media?
He used to work at Twitter.
We were talking about social media regulations and maybe it was the second one because I don't think it was Andrew, but we were talking about regulating the internet basically and digital media, which basically just means media now. And I feel very strongly that we are a capitalist country, and until it is a question of profit, until it is profitable for companies like Meta and X and whatever to regulate themselves, they will not do it unless they are forced to.
So I want to jump in here because I think you guys brought up something regarding we're used to having our data taken. Why do we care now? And then other things that you mentioned. This came up in class, and it really alerted my antenna went up when a couple students talked about it, and you guys may remember this. The first part was, why don't we pay attention and create data privacy regulations for all social media platforms? Why are we picking on just TikTok? And then the second part of that was, if we make ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, sell TikTok to a Western group or individual, who's to say that group or individual is any less of a bad actor than the government of China, i.e., someone like Elon Musk? Buyer beware, seller beware. So those two things were brought up in the classroom, and I thought they were really valid points, as if, why are we picking on TikTok? We should be focusing on all the data issues of our times that would apply to all platforms, including TikTok, because we don't trust Facebook, Meta, Google. We don't trust any of them anyway. And then if you make TikTok be sold, who's to say the buyer's not going to make it into a nightmare like Twitter's turned into with X? That got brought up in the classroom. I want to throw that out there to see if you guys agree or disagree with some of that.
I would say that those kind of questions are totally valid. And I mean, we never know somebody's true intentions, whether they're part of the US or not in the US. And it just is kind of like, how much do we value our data and how much do we trust people with it? And then on the other hand of TikTok being sold to a Western company, that brings me back to Vine, the Vine days.
Oh, I miss Vine.
Me too.
I love
And
Vine.
when Twitter bought Vine, it went away.
It was the beginning of the end.
It died. Yeah, I don't want to see that happen to TikTok. And I feel like if Vine had the ability to grow as much as TikTok has, they could have gone into
Could have been TikTok.
Exactly. But they would have been owned by a Western company, but they weren't given that opportunity. So I think if the
that's sort of
risk of
interesting.
TikTok being sold is that maybe it goes away like Vine. And I don't think any of us want to see that.
Great point.
Sort of like when the New York Times bought Wordle and everybody was worried they were going to ruin it. But, and I think that's valid. And I think, what bothers me, or not bothers me, but the version of TikTok that China allows us to have is very different from the version that they allow people who live in China to have, because they know a lot of the sort of the negative parts of it, the negative side effects, the impact it can have, the unhealthy impact it can have on younger kids and whatever. So they really offer a much more curtailed version of it in their own country, which, like, when I found that out, I was kind of like, well, that's sort of telling. Like, what do you want from us that you're not willing to feed your own people?
Mm-hmm. And they also, the last thing I'll mention on this before we go to the next topic is they also, not that we want to be like them, but they ban Google, Meta, and Twitter in their own country.
which
I thought,
which is insane.
right. All right, next topic. That was great,
Sorry.
guys. Next topic, AI in the classroom. Oh,
Of
okay.
which we know nothing about.
What do you, as students at a major university, and I'm sure you've been in classes where pro and con have been discussed, do you use AI? And what do you think about its use in the education space?
Well, you tell me to use AI, so I do use AI. But
That's a good point.
I do, I
beforehand, I did
encourage.
use AI beforehand. Um, in the education space, I personally just really dislike the American education system to like a huge extent because I think we're very inefficient with a lot of how we approach different topics, especially with like having a lot of like busy work instead of like focusing on genuinely like learning more or focusing more on your passion for a topic and everything. I found especially in high school, like it's just so much extra work that you don't need. And having tools like AI made it a lot more efficient to like, for example, a teacher in like my freshman year of college gave me like 100 pages of reading. And they were like, it's due on Monday. And I was like, even if I read that entire thing,
You're
I
not
can tell you like
retaining
a
it.
couple, I can tell you a
Yeah.
couple points. But then I found AI, and there's a tool where pretty much you can plug in the PDF. It'll give you the keynotes of the topic of everything. It'll give you like, as many bullet points as you want. I would read those, and it took me about like 10 minutes. And then I would go and I would skim through the reading so I have a better understand beforehand of what I'm actually taking in. And I did a better job, and I saved myself, because I'm a slow reader, probably like 6 hours. My
When I
point being, it's efficient and it's useful, and we shouldn't ban
when I was a lass,
it.
lo these many years ago, we had Cliff Notes, which were sort of the same thing. Like you could get the Cliff Notes version of whatever, it was slightly different because it was more for books. It would, people weren't assigning at it. The internet didn't exist, so it was different. But um, I think you're right. I think it's a valuable tool. Are you guys juniors, seniors?
I'm a senior.
I'm a junior.
Are you worried about AI? Like, do you have any concerns about what AI is going to do to the job market?
I No, I want to say no, because if you know how to use AI, you're going to get more efficient, and that's going to help you to be faster in your job. And there's plenty of people who are in the job market right now, already established, who don't know how to use AI, who don't know how to keep up with the technology. And I think when you have students coming from such a fast-paced environment, and if you go into a fast-paced environment, you can pick up quick. Like you and you just figure it out. And I think that's one of the like superpowers of having and hiring recent grads, because we've come from this environment and able to learn so quickly. I'm up with the new technology. I'm efficient, I'm fast, because I just came from a place where you take a year's worth of knowledge into less than 6 months.
Interesting.
I don't know about you, John, but like these conversations or what you guys are saying is exactly what everyone said about the internet when
This
it
is,
first, like,
I think I've said that in class, that this is the exact same conversation I had in the workplace starting in the 90s. Keep going.
well, there was plenty
Yeah,
of pushback and people who didn't want it in the workplace and didn't want, didn't want people to use the internet, which like this is a terrible example, but have you seen the movie Bridesmaids?
Yes, I love that
Okay, so
I have
movie.
not seen it.
oh, okay, so you're not gonna get this and it's really disgusting, but there's this scene where they're all trying on dresses and they have like unfortunate gastrointestinal issues like out in the middle of the street, and I can't remember if it's like Maya Rudolph or Kristen Wiig or whoever it is, but like she just keeps saying, this is happening, and every time we talk about AI, I think about that scene because I want to be like, this is happening. Like you can't stop it. The only thing you can do is like figure out how to deal with it. So
No,
I get
absolutely.
I get frustrated with like when I first told my kids that I thought it was okay for them to use it in school, they like the look on their face because they had heard, at the beginning of the school year from their teachers that it was like the devil.
It was
Mm.
cheating.
Yeah, that
It's
it
the
was
same thing where
cheating.
it's like those dumb kids with their cell phones, but now it's like those dumb kids with their AI. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's another thing where you just, like you said, like you can't stop it. It's gonna happen. Like
It's gonna happen.
it's gonna go down. But
And you have to watch that movie because it's really funny.
I
yeah,
think
which is
back
why
to,
education. Oh, sorry.
oh, sorry, just is real quick. I
Yeah.
think back to when I was in like second or third grade, and I'm not good at math, and I would complain about learning math all the time, and my grandma would say, "Well, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket when you get older." Guess what? I do now. I
Guess
have two
what, Granny?
calculators.
Well, you literally will.
Yeah, yeah. I also am very bad at math, and it's a big joke in our family. Along with my lack of a sense of direction. But
True.
you know what I've never ever had to use? Pre-calc. Like ever in my life, in my entire adult life, like ever. So I'm not arguing against the strengths of a strong liberal arts education. Like I'm all for it, and I think a lot of it teaches you how to think and rah, rah, rah. But yeah, it is really funny. I started out as a journalist and in the on television and uh in video, and there's a meme that I see every now and then where they have on a table all of the equipment that it used to take to like shoot something, and then on the other half of the page is a phone, and it's like literally like a room full of equipment because the cameras used to oh shit, sorry, the cameras used to be like this big, and there was a sound guy and a boom and all of the other and the lighting and all of this, and now it's like literally in your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
AI, like I'm not really concerned about going in the future, like my job, because personally I'm in marketing. People are always going to want to sell things, whether like these make it more efficient using AI. I believe I'm still going to have a job. I'm more concerned though within education when, just like with calculators, where teachers are like, oh, you don't need to use this, you're not going to be able to use it in the future. Now with AI, especially because it's such an efficient tool and it's really going to take away your job. A calculator didn't really have the ability to take away your job beforehand. If you don't understand how to use these tools and you're going up in this education system, and now you're applying for a job and you're trying to do things that a machine will do in 1 minute, it's a lot harder to fight with your competition for a job. And the
A
more
There you
they
go.
push back
100%.
against it, the harder it'll be for us to get our degree, get our education, and get our own livelihood.
And I'm hoping, and I think I see it, that as you use AI, and as I like to phrase, flex your AI muscle, get it in shape, you start to figure out where it works well, where it might work, right, exactly, where it might not work so well, or some information you have to double check because it seems a little fishy or whatever,
Well, like that
biased, etc.
assignment, one of my kids, I can't even remember which one it was, after their teachers realized that AI was going to be a thing and they couldn't make it go away. One of them had a
Right.
weekly assignment, remember last semester?
That was a
And
great assignment.
the assignment was write an essay that AI couldn't write, which I thought was so interesting. Like,
Makes you think.
yeah, it does make you think. And like, I don't know how well it worked and I don't know how great his essays were, but I thought it was a really interesting way to approach it
It's
as
a
sort
nice
of a
way to
nascent
encourage
technology.
creativity too, I believe. Like you're actually having them like think out of the box and encouraging that. It's nice to see.
Yeah, even
And
in high school, they were trying to figure out, they're getting the students to think, where can I use AI and where would AI not work?
that's definitely like one of the key components of using AI is where will it work, where won't it work? And definitely one of the areas where it won't work that, that assignment um, lends to is the human experience. And especially, and going back to the question of, do I think AI will take my job? I don't, because I want to go into UI UX, and the biggest part of that industry is that human-centered connection. And that's something that AI will not be able to connect with because we have the human experience. The machine is really only going off of what the input is.
That's a great way of
They-
saying it, Marissa. And the more I use AI, the more you can easily, you start to see that AI is extremely valuable, but it doesn't have a human personality. It's kind of flat. And which is a good thing in a sense, because it's not taking away, at least not yet, from the human experience of all this. All
I would
right.
also argue, though, that that can very easily happen. And I don't think it's going to be something we can hold on to for too long.
I know. I was
I'm
just
not.
gonna say not yet.
Not yet. That's why I
There's
said
actually a
not
function
yet.
I'm
out there.
100% with Jamie on this one. I'm like, you
I
cling to
know.
that because it's gonna be like,
That's why I
There's
did say not yet.
I know.
It's working every day to be more human. I get it.
There's a
All right.
function out there called character AI, though, and this one is a application, not to derail or anything too quick, I'll be done fast. But that one works with pretty much people create AI with they're meant to have a personality and meant to speak with this personality and respond with this personality. And it's a bit freaky, but I use it because therapy is expensive. I don't really have
Mhm.
the means to afford that. And there's a platform on there where you can talk to an AI therapist. Do I support them and think they're the 10 out of 10 best people out there? No, but I get a good place to like speak at. I get decent advice. I'm not gonna like I understand it's an AI and it's developing, so I'm not gonna take every single word for like
But
the
if it's
gospel.
that or nothing,
If it's
it's
that
like,
or $400 for better
yeah,
help, then
which you're not gonna do. Like it. I work in telehealth and treated and the company I work for built an app to we do addiction treatment. And one of the things we always say to like people will often put the pushback we get is, oh, for something like addiction, it's better to see a person. And we're kind of like, our population, it's either they're going to see us or they're going to see their drug dealer. It's not like they're going to see us or they're going to drive 4 hours to the closest in real life therapist, that deals with
Right.
addiction.
Right.
That's not one of the other options. And it's sort of like what you're saying.
Great point. All right. Next topic. Photo enhancement discussion, i.e.,
Where is the Princess of Wales? Is she alive? Is she dead?
I was
Did she
waiting
die
for
a
this
year
one.
ago?
okay.
Oh, I was waiting for this one.
All right,
This is
Marissa,
I used
go
to try to
ahead.
get Taylor
you take it
Swift
away,
into
Marissa.
every
You got this.
episode, but now I try to get Catherine into every episode. Go
All
go
right.
for it.
I listened to the last episode when you guys were talking about it. I was on the way home and I was like, I gotta listen to this. But I definitely think that we should wait till after Easter to be like, she's gone. Because they said Easter. They said that she would be back by Easter, and we're not there yet. We have a week. After that, we can freak out a little more. But I do think that her photo was a little,
What's
it was
wrong?
just weird. It was
Not
just
okay.
weird.
Like that to me very clearly, what I thought was interesting about it was the line that it crossed. Because like I said, and I used to do this much, much more when I had a blog and I posted more on social platforms, but I would edit the crap out of the photos before I put them up, like
But that's
whereas
different. Like what her photo did and using a ton of filters are totally different.
I know, but I
My
think it's an interesting line, don't you? I think when someone says, "Oh, a photo's edited," that's not enough, or
That's not the
altered.
same
It's not
thing.
we need
enough. We
better
need
Yeah.
phrases.
we need
Right.
we need better language, I think.
Right.
And if this photo was multiple photos of like her and the kids pieced together to make one, then say that. Say it's been split, cut, something like that. But when I think edited or altered, I think color correction, maybe take a couple things out in the background, like fix some pimples, something like that.
Exactly. Not,
Not faking the
know,
entire scenario in the
not
photograph.
taking two
Yeah.
people who weren't in the same room and making it look like they were posing for a picture.
Yeah, because at that
And
point it's
then
misinformation.
Right.
also, if you're gonna do that, maybe pay attention to the lack of the giant ring on her finger.
Maybe be better at it. Like
Maybe
Like-
be better at it.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, and so meanwhile, now in the midst of all of this, now they're hiring a communications expert. I was like, well, that's shutting the barn door after the horse is out. But
Shouldn't they have already had that?
yeah,
We're
I
talking
like,
about some of the
I-
richest people in the world, and they didn't have a communications expert. I mean, seriously?
well, not just money, but the most public-facing people in the world. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And if
which
you
is
watch The Crown, which I love, that's such a good show.
We'll
watched
be
it for a
talking about
while.
reality show. We'll get there in a minute. Don't worry.
Oh.
No, this one's a drama, but
No, we watched it. We watched
Oh.
we watched like 4 seasons of it, I think.
it was a
I
good
can't
show.
remember. It was a great show.
But Elizabeth, from what I understand from that show, she seemed to understand the public perception angle of being such a public family, and that everything they do is scrutinized to that. And it's the public is going to say what they want to say, and you have to think about how the narrative is going to go, and that's going to influence what you're doing. So that's why it's kind of like, why wouldn't they know that already?
I heard a great. Can I answer this for a second? Jump in.
No.
Can I
We're,
talk?
ta- we're
Great.
taking
No.
over the pod.
It's our podcast
I'll
now.
let you guys just talk amongst yourselves.
Now we're
The
joking
inmates
again.
are running the asylum.
I read a great article on the BBC yesterday about this topic. One quick point. It said that the royal family is employed by the people of Great Britain, and that their job, the reason they have all this money as part of their tax structure, they have jobs where they appear in public to raise money, to do good deeds around the country.
Boost morale, rah, rah, rah.
Right. And for one of the employees, in this particular case, the Princess of Wales, to say, I'm going to disappear for 12 to 16 weeks is not okay.
What? Hold the phone.
That's what they said. They said, you have to
Okay.
at least communicate to the public that you're alive, that
What,
you're
proof
still
of
sick,
life? Like
something.
holding up the daily newspaper?
Something,
Like, at
because what
what
they were
point-
saying is nobody in any job could take 16 weeks off and not call anybody.
First of all, I don't know that that's true. Second of all,
Just saying.
and I'm actually like shocked that I'm on this side of the argument, because I did not expect to be on this side of the argument, but I kind of feel like she's also a mother and a wife and a woman, and if she had this surgery, which they won't say what it is, so God only knows what it is. I mean, I will admit there is a certain lack of transparency about the whole thing.
That's what he's referring to in the article.
But say it is serious abdominal surgery. I don't know. Maybe she had a hysterectomy. I have no fucking idea what she had. But does she not deserve the time to have the surgery and recover in private, and not have, pictures all over the world of her hobbling around bent over, because she can't stand up straight because her incisions are, I don't know. Like, does she not deserve? And they said in advance, here she's going in. She's not going to be out till after Easter. I feel like part of the big problem here is that they caved to the insane conspiracy theories and the public pressure around her, like, quote unquote disappearance. Like, putting that picture out and having it be altered, it made everything so much worse. Like, if they had
that was
just
his
stuck
point.
to what they were going to do, sort of to Marissa's point, they said she wasn't coming out till after Easter. Now she sounds like the groundhog. But she's still got a week. Like,
She's got a week.
Let the
Now,
woman
talk
recover
about
in
pressure.
peace.
This girl better show up. I'll tell you, by Easter somewhere.
They also could have used a past photo of her and her kids for England's Mother's Day, if that's what they wanted to post, instead of using
There are those
a
who say it is a
heavily-
past photo.
Well, they could have just like asked for a selfie and been like, "Hey, can you just tell them that you're like alive?"
Well,
But
I
this
know,
is,
but like that borders on like holding up the newspaper. Like, at what point are we? How much do these people
Yeah.
owe us? I understand that they work for us, but like, what do they really owe the people? And not of they don't owe us anything, but what do they owe the people of Great Britain?
but
Oh, I
the,
agree as well. I just think in handling that whole situation, like
So bad.
why fake the entire thing when he
And
just
then
asked for a quick selfie? Because it's an easy job. One
And
second. Done.
now the other picture came out of the Queen with all the grandchildren, and that's like been also altered in like 95 places. Like it's like it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse to the point where I'm like, she probably is dead. Like at this
she's
point,
not. Let me ask this to wrap up this part of the conversation. Does this, when you guys look at pictures of political leaders or celebrities, do you look at them now and think or question whether they're real? Do you go into that with that mindset? Or do you believe it
Yeah.
until otherwise? Like, how do you go into looking at a picture now?
Looking at pictures has gotten like a little bit scary, where like I've seen so many like AI generated photos now over time where like you think it's real, and then you're looking at the hand, and like the hands like they're missing like a bit of a finger, or like they're merged together, and you're like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. And especially with politicians and like deep faking and everything, it's getting a lot more intense where like for misinformation and people now speaking and embodying these, presidents of the entire country and now influencing their entire demographic. It's really
Right.
concerning for like what they can tell them and make them do or think.
Marissa?
Initially, I don't look at pictures and think this is fake, but the more I look at it and if I start to find weird things, then I'm like, okay, there's probably some editing or AI generation. And the I do I'm in media, or I do media coverage for part of my job. So I know what a real picture looks like because I look at hundreds of them. And then with the pictures that AI generates, like it has a different effect to it. It's almost like airbrushed or almost like made out of clay. And so it definitely doesn't look like real skin because skin has texture, hair has texture, like everything has that. So when it looks airbrushed, I'm like, that's not real.
That line I feel like is definitely blurring now though.
I
Like
was gonna say
with
yes.
another 10 years,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be able to tell the difference. Like I can already see that right now.
the
I
With
know you
deep
want to.
fakes are definitely scary though, because
I know you.
that's
Oh,
hard to
sorry.
tell.
It is hard to tell, and especially for people. I mean, you guys are probably, I would say, in the top 1% of media savvy, consumers of news and of media. Like, imagine, like, my 82-year-old mother is not looking at stuff with the same, eye that you guys have. And I know you want to wrap this up, John. I just want to say one final thing. I feel like a lot of the blame for all of this can be placed at the feet of the Kardashians.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's have some fun now in the last 5-10 minutes. All right. Thank you for the great discussion so far. Now let's have some fun. I want to ask you guys some questions. First one, do you watch reality TV, and if so, which shows?
I don't.
Do
I
I?
find it boring.
Interesting.
I
It
when
is
I was
until you get
younger,
sucked in.
Any
my
reality
sister
TV.
there's only one that I will voluntarily watch, or a couple. But on Hulu, I've been watching How to Catch a Smuggler.
What's that? I don't even know
Tell
about
us.
that.
It's like people coming into the country trying to smuggle in currency, drugs, like produce, meat, like the stuff, because there's laws of what you can bring in and what you
Oh,
can't
I
bring in.
know.
So that show is like they're like looking through people's stuff and trying to catch them, and it's
That's
so
awesome. Also, you
interesting.
should follow the TSA on Instagram because they're hilarious. They're so the whoever runs that
No
The
account
way.
is
TSA.
The TSA on Instagram, I'm not even joking at all. They are so funny. And they show pictures of the stuff that they find in that people are trying to take on the plane, and they're funny about it. Like whatever. It's whoever runs that account is doing
Their
a killer
bio
job.
is travel tips and dad joke hits.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the official TSA
For the
account.
TSA?
That's correct.
Marisa, did you just check right now?
Yeah.
Right, this is an example. Just for those listening, this is what it's like to teach in the college environment today. Not your sentence is half out of your mouth, and the students are checking live.
We're
Just want to put that
fact-checking
out
at every
there.
single point.
Right.
Always.
So wait, what else do you watch? So you watch the Smuggler Show? What else do you watch?
When I was younger, my sister would force me to watch her reality shows that she would watch. So it was like House Hunters, Say Yes to the Dress, Love It or List It, Cake Boss, like all the TLC shows.
I
But
wasn't even thinking of those. My God.
I wasn't
was
either.
big
I was thinking of all the
into-
Bravo shows.
Yeah.
I was big into Dance Moms a couple months ago, and I made my boyfriend watch it too. He got into it.
It's easy to get into. Like, it's such garbage, and it's like it's like
terrible.
junk food. It's so awful that it's awful, but it is like
In a good.
I just can't understand it because I feel so bad for the people the entire time. And then I get so frustrated, especially with Dance Moms. Every
No, I
single family
know.
in Dance Moms is borderline abusive. And
No,
you're
I
just
know.
watching
It's
it happen, you're supposed to
very, like,
laugh. And I'm like, I can't laugh at that. Like,
it's very like John Benet Ramsey. Like, there's a whole. It's just creepy.
It's
There's a
very
level of
confusing
creepy.
of why it's enjoyable to watch, but the funniest part was not even on the show. It was that we were watching part of the dances, and my boyfriend, farmer guy, right? He's watching, he goes, she was late.
Oh my God,
he-
that's
oh no.
hysterical.
He
That's
started understanding
hysterical.
the dance stuff, and I was like, I got
You know
him.
what that reminds, like, every time the Olympics come around, you go into it like not knowing anything about the sports, and then by the end you're like, oh, she didn't stick that landing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she didn't. She slid on the ice.
Yeah,
Oh no.
yeah, totally. That triple toe axle was not up to par.
Probably not supposed to hit the wall.
All right, next question. Music. What's your favorite artists?
I like AJR and Young Gravy.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's a bad combo.
No, I don't even know. I've never even heard of them.
Oh.
Look at
I think
him.
Marisa's judging me.
Jamie, say
No.
those artists. Jamie, say those artists again.
AJR and Young Gravy.
Hey, all I know is Jelly Roll and
You
somebody
only know
else.
that because I
No
made you
Jelly
watch I make him watch the red carpet for all the awards shows, and he was like, I'm sorry, who is that? What is going on? He was beyond confused by Jelly Roll. Like, couldn't wrap his head around it.
So Jamie, I don't have no idea what you're talking about.
You might know
Marisa, who are your favorite artists?
So I grew up on my dad's music.
This is a good
and
sign.
I think
For you.
you should count how many that you know, but Led Zeppelin, Fleetwood Mac,
Yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers. I also really like Nirvana when I'm trying to do my
This is
homework, but
fantastic.
specifically
Oh, yeah, you're a huge
the
Nirvana fan.
specifically the MTV Unplugged album.
MTV
That-
Unplugged. I miss
was so
MTV. I miss MTV Unplugged. I really
You grew
Black
up.
Crowes, MTV
You were
Unplugged was
double
a
raised
great
by your
episode.
dad. That is insane.
That's
But
good
I
stuff.
also listen to country. I do like Zach Bryan.
Oh, yep,
His
he's on
songs are really good.
I totally agree.
All right, last subject, movies. Have you seen a good movie lately, streaming or theater?
Oh, I have better. When was the last time you were in a movie theater?
Oh, that's a good
Oh,
one.
I go pretty often. I went actually on Tuesday.
Really?
I love going. Actually, I think because of like Barbie and like the Super Mario movie and everything, I've been going more often because it's fun to like dress up for these things, like treat it as like an event
It's
and
become
like
like
get
an
into the
event.
atmosphere.
It's like
Yeah,
Comic-Con,
exactly. It's so much
you
fun.
know? Yeah.
I
Marissa,
went
how
to
about
Barbie
you?
and like Oppenheimer, and I had like
Um,
a suit on with like a pink hat. Like,
So awesome.
the last time I was in a movie theater, it was to watch the new Mean Girls movie. And I went with my sister and her sister-in-law. But then the time before that was way better because I saw Barbie.
Wow.
That
All right.
was so
And have you
good.
seen any good movies streaming that you want to give a shout out to?
oh, people should watch Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Really? Really? I keep hearing
You don't
that, and
like
I
it?
just no, I have not seen it because I feel like it's just it like overwhelms me and I haven't even seen it.
It's everything
And
all
I'm
at
over.
once.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
it
feel
is
like it's
Everything Everywhere
everything
All at
everywhere all at
Once.
once.
Well, it goes into like a lot of philosophy and like family dynamics
I
and just kind of like the artistry of the entire thing is really impressive. So seeing like mass-produced Avengers movies, which I love, but they do get like very generic and I can predict the plot by the end of every single movie. Like watching that movie was really refreshing.
Very good.
Right, we gotta
Marissa?
see it.
This isn't a movie, but we just watched the Patriots Dynasty documentary series
We
on
talk
Apple
about that all the
TV.
time. Yeah.
That was good. And it was very interesting to watch, and I'm not even a big football person.
We could have a podcast on that, a whole
We could.
episode.
Let's
But
let's
we've
talk
already
about it in
gone
class.
Don't
we've gone
include me.
half an hour over because
No,
I'm the
we're okay.
timekeeper and I've been sleeping on the job. But but we could do an entire podcast on the dynasty.
We'll talk in class, John. Don't worry. We'll get
Um,
DJ in on it.
so yeah, we have to wrap
Nick,
up because
edit that part out, me coughing.
you sound like my kid. Take care of that in post. Thank you guys so much for coming on. This was awesome. And it was so nice to hear from both of you. John, do you have anything?
Yeah, Jamie and Marissa, thank you so much. I mean, this has been a great episode. I hope people really listen to it and engage. And I'd love to do this every couple months because we have a wide variety of guests, and I would love to have your generation heard from on these shows. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's fun
Thanks.
actually like talking to other people about this whole thing, especially if they're older than us. So
Thanks, you guys. All right, Digital Dilemma fans, that wraps up another episode. Thanks for tuning in and navigating our tech world with us.
Please rate us and leave a review. And if you enjoyed it, tune in next time. We'd also love it if you would send us any questions or suggest guests via email. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Digital Dilemmas is a Lenk Media original podcast.